Coming up on Network Africa, the African Union suspends Burkina Faso a week after the military seized power in a coup. At least 9 people killed in Kenya bomb explosion. Plus, former South African President Jacob Zuma is back in court for arms deal corruption case. Hello and welcome to the program this week. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend. The Sudanese people are not backing down as they continue their protests to demand a return to civilian rule. Sadly, one person is said to have been killed as security forces clashed with protesters. Well, Burkina Faso and Mali, who are under military rule, are seeking ways to transition to democracy amid sanctions and suspensions, plus an update of the AFCON Games in Cameroon.
On Sunday, one protester was killed as security forces confronted thousands of people protesting against military rule in Sudan's capital, Khartoum. The Central Committee of Sudanese doctors linked to the demonstration said the 27-year-old Mohammed Yusuf Ismail was hit in the chest. Security forces fired pepper spray and tear gas to disperse the crowds who were marching in defiance of a ban on demonstrations. Protesters got within about 2 kilometers of the presidential palace on the banks of the Blue Nile before security forces blocked their way and started chasing them. Opposition parties in Burkina Faso are voicing support for the military's power grab, with the former ruling party and its allies calling for calm and transition to good governance. On Saturday, leaders of the former ruling and opposition parties expressed their thoughts, highlighting the country's need of transformation and good governance.
Our country must transform, but has to be based on virtuous governance. We expect to see the military's junta's willingness to govern by virtue, to crack down on corruption, and to guide the next civilian government. All these have to be done within a reasonable time frame. The sanctions imposed by ECOWAS have also wreaked havoc on the civilians who have already suffered. This is not right.
Still on Saturday, the French defense minister says European states combating Islamist militants in Mali will try to find a way to keep their mission going. But there are limits to the price that France is prepared to pay to remain there. So far, the 15 countries involved in the European Special Forces are still united in wanting to maintain the mission. Relations between Mali's military junta and its international partners are close to breaking down after it failed to organize an election following 2 military coups. Egyptian soccer fans in Giza celebrated their country's victory over Morocco in the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinal on Sunday, January 30th. Scores of passionate Egyptian fans gathered in a cafe along with a large number of Moroccan supporters to watch the game. Mohamed Salah scored an equalizer and created the winner as Egypt came from behind to beat Morocco 2-1 after extra time. Egypt now meets host Cameroon in the semi-final in Yaoundé on Thursday after a much improved performance following a slow start to the tournament.
To our main stories for today, the African Union has suspended Burkina Faso a week after the military seized power in a coup. The Union says the country would be blocked from all AU activities until constitutional order is restored. The West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS, which suspended Burkina Faso last week, has sent in a delegation to the capital, Ouagadougou. This delegation is expected to join a team from the United Nations for talks with the new military leaders. An in-person ECOWAS summit is also planned for Thursday in Ghana for further deliberations on the situation in the country. Leaders of the regional body held a virtual emergency meeting on Friday where they suspended the country's membership from the regional bloc. Mali's foreign minister says the main reason why tensions are growing with France is that the French believe his country is not acting in their interests. Abdoulaye Diop dismissed French concerns about Mali's alleged use of Russian mercenaries to fight Islamist insurgents, saying Mali and Russia had been strong partners for years. According to Mr. Diop, France had no right to describe last year's coup as illegitimate, as it had good relations with other countries with military rulers. Hundreds of French troops are based in Mali, advising and supporting local troops against insurgency. In the meantime, France says dozens of militants have been killed in Burkina Faso in operations involving local and French troops. The assaults were conducted as part of the French-led Operation Barkhane against Islamist groups in the Sahel region of Africa before the 23rd January coup. The French military said it took part in 4 operations alongside Burkinabe troops between the 16th and 23rd of January. Using fighter jets, attack helicopters and drones, troops were able to locate terrorist groups in their zones of refuge along the northern border with Mali. The French authorities said up to 60 militants have been killed, while about 20 motorbikes and several armed trucks destroyed. As many as 2,000 people have died in jihadist attacks in Burkina Faso since 2015, when militants linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group started conducting raids from Mali. Well, let's head now to Malawi, where the president is warning ministers against corruption. On Sunday, he held the swearing-in of cabinet members, and President Lazarus Chakwera spoke to his ministers, warning the ministers against corruption. President Chakwera says he would not shield anyone from prosecution if they got involved in corrupt activities. The president had sacked his entire cabinet last week, but most of the ministers have been reappointed and a new lineup announced days later. Anti-government protests have been held since November to condemn the rising cost of living and allegations of nepotism and corruption in the country. Well, joining us now is Florence Mwale, Malawian journalist, for more on this. Thank you, Florence, for speaking to us. What more can you tell us about yesterday's ceremony, the swearing in of new cabinet members?
Hello, thank you for having me. Well, yesterday's ceremony came a few days after the president had sacked his entire cabinet and chosen new members. Yesterday, he swore in 30 of them, and 13 of which are women and 17 of which are men. For the first time in Malawi's history, we have women taking out huge ministries, like key ministries, whereby we have a woman heading the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education. We also have one in the Ministry of Homeland Security, including the Ministry of International Affairs. So this is something that was really historic in the country's history. So yesterday they were all sworn in, and President Chakwera asked them that they should work hard and that he will not tolerate anyone who is being lazy or procrastinating and unable to deliver what the president is expecting of them.
So just like you said, the president sacked the entire cabinet last week, but now most of those who have been sworn in have been reappointed. Is there a reason for this?
Mostly it may be because they are the people who started the Don't Say Alliance. This is the alliance. It's a 9-member alliance with 9 political parties. And this is the alliance that took on the Democratic Progressive Party in 2020 and won the elections. So it is mostly what many commentators say an appeasement. It's just a way of saying thank you for contributing to the party, thank you for being part of the Tonsa Alliance and helping us win the elections. So many have been maintained, of course. So there are most of them are the ones who had a hand in helping the Tonsa Alliance win the elections.
And how are Malawians reacting? We know there have been anti-government protests, since last November, condemning the rising cost of living, nepotism on the part of the president. That's what, the citizens are saying, and also corruption.
Even though we have new faces, some new faces in the new cabinet, Malawians are hoping that maybe it will bring the change that they were expecting. But some are, however, hesitant. Some do not think that the change will come because these are the very same faces that we've had throughout the years, and they're just going from one ministry to another. So if it is any change that will come, maybe it will be because the president did tell them yesterday that they need to work hard, and they need to address Malawians, especially the issues that are affecting Malawians. He did make mention of the fact that many of them usually go to the president when they have issues in their ministry instead of tackling the issues on their own. So we are hoping that once they start working now, they'll be able to talk to Malawians and address Malawians and tell them what is happening. And also, if there are any challenges going on, they'll be able to talk to Malawians and tell them that this is what we're doing as a ministry and this is what we're going to be doing, so that Malawians know what is happening and are aware of what their ministers are doing. And also, the Malawians are also hoping that now with what happened yesterday with the president's speech, they're hoping that they'll be able to be more transparent. One other thing that the president mentioned is that the last cabinet that he had was not as transparent as he was hoping for it to be, and that they were also silent. They never communicated. They always waited for the Ministry of Information to communicate for them on their behalf. So hopefully that this time around, even though it's the very same faces that we had, they're going to be more proactive, a bit more hands-on, and take on the issues that are affecting Malawians every day.
All right then, Florence Mwale, Malawian journalist, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
A new food security assessment by the United Nations World Food Programme shows that almost 40% of Tigrayans are suffering an extreme lack of food after 15 months of conflict. Meanwhile, across all three conflict-affected regions of the north, more than 9 million people are in need of humanitarian food assistance, the highest number yet. Well, the Tigray Emergency Food Security Assessment found also that 83% of people are food insecure.
The conflict continues to drive hunger more and more. We have a few million people in Tigray in a very dire situation, hundreds of thousands of very malnourished kids in Afar. In Amhara, the situation is not getting better. In total, well over 9 million people that have no access to food at the moment.
According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, aquaculture in Zimbabwe is struggling to reach its full potential despite the technical progress. However, the FAO has started a project to improve food security and also contribute to poverty reduction, as well as stimulate economic growth across this landlocked nation.
In Zimbabwe, per capita fish consumption of 2.6 kilograms is significantly below the average in other southern African states of 6 kilograms. At the same time, now tilapia, the main aquaculture product of the country, has a higher price than in many other African nations, with retail prices hitting $3 per kilo, twice the regional average, making it unaffordable for many people. Consumption of tilapia in Zimbabwe can be increased significantly if production costs can be decreased to reduce retail prices. This is Hafra Nanhanga, a tilapia farmer.
When I entered into the tilapia farming, I thought it was an easy thing to do, especially when we started on the construction of ponds. I thought we can just use our picks, our hoes, to make the ponds. But later on, I discovered that there was need for bigger machineries like excavators.
Fish for ACP initiative aims to unlock the potential of smallholder fish farmers using sustainable practices and scaling up production by improving access to the technical know-how. The initiative will invest in value chains to stimulate inclusive growth, bolster food security, and minimize impacts on the marine environment.
Fish is very important for the economies of the countries of this region, as a source of food, as a source of income, as a source of livelihood, as a source of job. But the fisheries and aquaculture sectors have not been able to reach the full potential that they could in these regions. And not only have not been able to reach the growth that they could have, but as well the benefits that they generate do not always reach those communities that need the most.
The goal is to make fisheries and aquatic culture value chains in Africa, the Caribbean and the Pacific more sustainable. The United Nations General Assembly has declared 2022 the International Year of Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. FAO is the lead agency for celebrating the year in collaboration with other relevant organizations and bodies of the United Nations.
Still ahead on the program. Welcome back to the program. The Rwanda-Uganda Gatuna border has been reopened after nearly 3 years of closure. The border was closed in 2019 following tensions between the two East African countries. Well, reporters at the border say there's little movement in the area. On the Ugandan side, the construction of the custom office, which is part of a one-stop border system being implemented in the country, that construction is ongoing. And the border reopening was announced last week after a meeting between Rwanda's President Paul Kagame and Uganda's Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who is President Yoweri Museveni's son. Rwanda had accused Uganda of detaining and torturing its citizens, while Uganda accused Rwanda of infiltrating its military intelligence. But both countries denied the accusation. Well, at least 9 people have been killed and several more have been injured in Kenya after a bomb attack in the northern region on a public commuter van locally known as Matatu. The Matatu was traveling towards Mandera, a town in the border area which has been regularly targeted by militant attacks. No one has taken responsibility for the attack, but Al-Shabaab insurgents have attacked police and civilians in and around Mandera, with several fatalities in recent years. The attack comes barely a week after several foreign embassies in Kenya, including the US and France, warned the citizens of possible terror attacks in the country, but the Kenyan police then released a statement reassuring the public of their safety. South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma has appeared in court to face a long-standing corruption trial regarding a $2 billion government-armed deal. Zuma's lawyers had argued that lead state prosecutor Billy Downer should be removed from the case, claiming that Downer is biased and his involvement would result in Zuma not getting a fair trial. Representing the former president, Tabani Masupu told the judge that Mr. Zuma would like to be fairly cross-examined on the allegations leveled against him. Former President Zuma is accused of taking bribes from French company Thales and also faces 16 counts of fraud, corruption, and racketeering.
These factors, these allegations of criminal conduct by the NPA officials are insignificant in the fair trial rights of Mr. Zuma. But well, we would like to cross-examine those observations. Like Mr. Zuma would like to know a bit more than just the view that, the theoretical view that these have no impact on Mr. Zuma, because they have real impact on him. Mr. Zuma would have liked to tell the court what impact these allegations by Mr. Hofmeyr has had on his political career, on his social standing in society, there's incredible prejudice that President Zuma has suffered as a result of the allegations that are contained in Mr. Hofmeier's affidavit.
Let's take you back to our headline story for today, the bomb attack in Kenya. Joining us now is Abby Agina, Kenyan journalist in Nairobi, for more on this. Hello, Abby. Thank you for speaking to us. Well, the police gave an assurance, last week of safety after warnings went out about an impending terror attack. Now, 9 people have lost their lives. What's the mood like in the country?
Well, thank you for having me on the program. Indeed, this has caught the country in a very tense moment for the simple reason that there were terror alerts that had been issued by different countries concerning the safety of their nationals in Kenya. So these particular attacks have literally exposed the soft underbelly when it comes to matter security in the country.
So in the aftermath of this, our authorities now taking additional measures to ensure this doesn't happen again. What have we heard from them?
Well, the security chiefs within the region with which the attack happened are on high alert. They've intensified patrols around the area. And also we do understand that they have set up various roadblocks. That's to ensure that they continue with surveillance and checks across that road that leads you to Mandera. Remember, Mandera is in the northern side of Kenya, which is a volatile area, especially considering it borders Somalia, as well as to some extent it also borders Ethiopia. So this is a very interesting development, especially in the light at which we see Kenya trying to bolster security across the borders, all in an attempt to flush out the Al-Shabaab sympathizers. And as we can report also is the fact that the security agencies are continuing with the investigations. And of course, eyewitnesses are being interviewed in regards to what they saw and what they might have been holding back. So security agencies are still in the area just trying to get a deeper understanding of really how did this miss their radar.
All right then, Abby Agina, Kenyan journalist, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's take you to the story we teased earlier. The Super Wolf Dog Hotel is taking the lead in canine hospitality in South Africa. Unlike other five-star hotels, in Cape Town, dog owners believe Super Wolf deserves a 6-star rating because of the care and luxury their dogs receive. Let's take a look.
5 stars is usually the most luxury hotel one can get. A notable exception is Super Wolf Dog Hotel in Cape Town, whose canine guests receive such pampering that owners says it deserves 6 stars.
Some of the key offerings we have is our splendid outdoor super sky deck. We've got a full table view mountain, the splash pool, not only AstroTurf but genuine grass as well, so the dogs have that natural feel, although it's in the city, so being a central offering. We've got our customized Super Wolf lounges, which are absolutely delightful for the doggos. They really love sharing that space as a sleeping zone. Of course, we've got our handlers and staff on duty 24/7 to make sure that there's never ever a moment that a dog is being left unattended.
Nearly 3 decades since the end of the white minority rule, South Africa remains one of the world's most unequal countries, with half the country lying below the official poverty line.
Dogs are man's best friend for a reason, but other than that, they come from spaces where that's their regular day-to-day treatment, and I think more so now than ever, dogs are people's children, so they don't want to just be left at home to do nothing. They come here and get well spoiled, and just to make sure that at the end of the day they're knackered and happy when they go home.
For Watson, he believes in adopting his favorite dog.
I would choose all of them, but I will have to just go with Stevie. Stevie's fun. Stevie likes me a lot. Stevie, when he sees me, he goes crazy. So I adopted that. So yeah, he's one of my best.
Superwoof Hotel hopes to continue giving dogs luxury and treatment even amidst poverty.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.